Hey everyone, I'm Shane. I'm the drummer for Voice Print and this is my rig. So the drum kit that I'm using, it's a Mapex Mars series which I bought from Yamaha, and it's a bit different to the usual drum kit because it has wood hoops instead of the usual steel hoops, and I'm using 3 snares for the show because each song has different types of snares. And this is my 70s snare, and this is called a poplar snare. And this is my main snare. So main snare is the snare that I use for most of the songs. So the cymbals that I'm using, it's all A customs, Zildjian A custom cymbals. The reason I'm using Zildjian because it has quite a warm tone, and especially from since small age I've always been a fan of Zildjian cymbals. So A custom is one of my favorite cymbals out of Zildjian. So my hi-hat is also Zildjian. So all the cymbals are Zildjian. So hats off for Zildjian for making such awesome cymbals. These are called jingles. I'm using 2 of those. So the reason I'm using those because I want the hi-hat to sound a bit different. This is how a hi-hat would usually sound. As a usual hi-hat, it would sound like that, but this is with the jingle, it sounds a bit, it has like a tambourine kind of an effect. So that's the reason I'm using a jingle. Plus I'm using a jingle on the crash cymbal so that it will sustain a bit more than a usual crash. So if I take it off, it will sound like a usual crash. If I use it with the jingle, it has a tambourine sound. So for the concert I'll be using samples, meaning like in a song there are certain sounds that should sound exactly like the song when you are playing live. So I have a few waveforms that I've transferred into the drum machine, and it's a Yamaha DTX Multi 12, and I have all sort of sounds in this. So when I use quite a lot of drum patterns as well for few songs, not for all songs but few. So if I could demonstrate one, this is a pattern that I use for a song called This I Promise You, and I have triggered it to this pad. That's also another pad from Yamaha. So it's triggered from there to this so that I can easily approach to it or hit the pad without rather going all the way like that, being complicated. So that's another drum pad from Yamaha. And this small little thingy, it's like a effects pedal for drummers. I think all the drummers should get one of this. So you don't have to depend on the sound engineer to do all your reverbs and effects and stuff. So if I could demonstrate that, this is actually without the Yamaha E8010, this is how it sounds without it. So if I add a bit of reverb, that's how it sounds. So if I add a little bit of delay, that's how it sounds. So that's one reason I use it, so that I can assign reverbs and delays according to the tempo and according to the song. And finally I use Zildjian 7A sticks. It's made out of maple, same as the wood hoops. These are all maple. So I'm a maple fan and I'm a huge fan of Zildjian. So that's it. This is my rig under.
Hi, it's Pathum Fernando, Malla from Voice Print. We're just after the replay sound check. So we got only just about 2 more hours till we start the show. So might as well just utilize our time and just to explain about little things that what I do here. Starting with, for this concert, I'll be using about 4 guitars is out of my collection. This is the most simple rig you can ever find in this country, I guess. Not very sophisticated, I just like to keep simple. As long as if I can get a good tone and if I have that real feel, I think I really get comfortable with my rig. This is the main important thing that which I've been using for my solo gigs before, for acoustic gigs. So the reason I have this looper Jam Man, so that I can record myself and I really can go out and I really can tune my tone, so that I can get that perfect tone which I drive through amplifiers. As my second brain is the Korg AX3000G, which is everything is done by this, and whatever the delay, effects, reverb, or name it, everything is here. And then coming along, this one was presented to me by a friend of mine. Actually, by accident I found this at his place, but when I saw it I really recognized it. It's a replica of Harley Benton, the AC tone, Vox AC tone, but it's manufactured by Joyo. So, which is, I use it for a very crunchier sound, bit of countryish, gospel. And this little thing over here, I call this the AB box, because since I'm using a lot of guitars, I can connect 2 guitars at once and I can just switch on and switch off, so that I don't need to constantly remove cables and fix it. I don't have to go through that hassle. At least I have 2 guitars on standby all the time. If I talk about my picks, guitar picks, I tend to use pretty hard picks by Dunlop. These also I got from Yamaha, and probably it's a good material, very hardy, and it's 1.14, but I don't use below 1.0 because it's too flexible, so I really cannot attack and I really cannot control my dynamics. But this is the most important thing. There you go. I just managed to buy it from somewhere just to keep a bottle of water, drink, whatever I need. So tonight for this concert, replay concert, I'll be using 2 amplifiers. The reason I need the stereo delay, that panning system which I have programmed. So like, when I play one note, the delay is heard from the side, So it's, for listeners' ears, it always is very pleasing. I'll be using the Fender Hot Rods. It's a very vintage amp, and I have been a fan of Fender for, I think, as much as I can remember. So they're good workhorses, by the way. You can just, that's it, because you can really hardy amplifiers. Just for my comfort, something that I like to introduce, I think a lot of people might know. I use this finger ease, because especially if your fingers are too dry, this will help you with your dexterity and to move faster because less friction. So if I talk about cables, I think every guitarist should invest on good professional cables, guitar cables. The reason is, I think if you have good cables, you can have better tone because the signal passes through like without any interruption. Because I have seen some guitar players, like, they just tend to use just a normal standard keyboard cables, but which I really don't recommend that to anyone. But if you need to have a good tone with high gain, you need to have good cables. So I've been a fan of Vox all my life. I just love Vox cables and even Vox amplifiers, and of course Fender cables. So these are Fender custom shop cables, which is like, I was really lucky because it was available here at Yamaha Music Center in Colombo, and of course the Vox cables. Using the Jackson 7 string. Actually, it is a very basic 7 string which I bought overseas. So it's a bit of a driving tone for the 7 string, and for some songs I'll be using this for the intro riffs, maybe just a bit of low chord backing so that it really sounds a bit rocky. The next one will be the Fender Steiner Stratocaster. Another big fan of Fender. I just love Strats because I was highly influenced by Pink Floyd of Dave Gilmour, that kind of players. So just to get a better sound, I have done little modifications. I just got this extra jumbo frets done, I think, of my guitar technician Shiran. It's a Shiran, and I use this guitar sometimes to play the Roland synth GR55 so that I can emulate, because we are a 4-piece outfit, 4-piece band, so we have to support each other as much as we can to fill in, you know, because it's very difficult to do you know, whole studio version and getting into a live performance. So we always have to find a way how to. So sometimes I just, while playing a chord, I just layer a string line or whatever, you know, just to fill that gap. So it's not heard, but you just can feel the pulse. So and I had this original the Fender pickups. I just installed it recently, and I got the same Duncan just to get a bit of a very crunchier, you know, rock and rollish sound. So that kind of, you know, bluesy, and of course good for rhythm. That kind of thing, you know. So this is a guitar. It was an experiment, of course. The thing is, like, a lot of people used to blackguard me for doing this experiment. The reason is, this is not the guitar as you can see. The reason is, it's a Fender Telecaster, by the way, and I just had the parts at my place, but I got down an original Fender neck, a tele neck. This body, I think it's the Mexican Fender body. And there's another guitar player I love the most is Alan Holsworth. So he plays a hollow body carving. So it has a beautiful tone, but I really didn't know how it will work for a Telecaster. So got these Alnico pickups, and of course I just did for fun this Scorpion engraving and just install lights back again just for fun, you know, because I was just little bored, just doing nothing for 3-4 days, and I asked my technician if he can do this. Of course I had to draw this and just do the laser cutting, and still it got this tangling, you know, kind of countryish sound if I have to play, you know. So it's very good for, like, that countries, you know, when, like, you know. So that kind of, you know, rock and roll backings and all those things, you know, just country stuff, country rock. Actually, since I had done a lot of modifications to this guitar, I don't think it's a Fender anymore. So what I did was I just shaped this at home, you know, just to look more sharper, just a resemblance of the Scorpion. And I named it after my birth month, you know, so it's named it November. So I just did just a very basic water slide, but I'll have to print it later, you know, probably. Yes, I hope to do more experiments like this, you know, so that I really can keep to do more research on this, you know. I just love to learn something new all the time. So finally I got, I can call this the workhorse of whatever I do, because most of the stuff, if you hear any solos, main solos, I just use this guitar because I just love this guitar. And it's a Charvel Jackson made in Japan. And sometime back I installed DiMarzio Steve, I think Evolution 1, yeah, this humbucker and single coil. This one also I have done a lot of modifications because Shiran helped me out to do all these things, which is a perfect luthier. One thing is, sometimes this kind of old vintage guitars, you don't get this neck through body. So I had to just carve it out a little bit so that I really can go deep down without any problem, so it doesn't stick here. And of course this part, so that when I play a bend or whatever, it just sticks without any problem, you know. So and of course I use pretty high gauge strings for a Floyd Rose. In general I just use 10s or 10s hay bottom. So sometimes for convenience I got this scalloped, so it's very easy for me to play. And when it comes to electronics, I have changed a little bit of wiring, and maybe even you can just try it out as well. So actually this has that real dreamy kind of tone. So this guitar, if I talk about the electronics, it just got the volume and standard tone control, but this one I got it done when I was in overseas on contract. So this we call the EMG Afterburner, which actually increases your guitar gain, the pickup gain. So in case if you have to perform with this and maybe just run around, and maybe when you're really free, be free and wild. So you can't just be coming back to your pedal again and to increase. So I have this convenience, whereas I can just increase this volume, you know. I can just control the volume level, whatever, you know. Right? So I can just, and the other thing is, I got this kill switch done because actually what happens is it bypasses this the direct signal of this humbucker pickup. So even if I cut the volume down, so it's just down. So I can even use it for like, you know, kind of okay, and if I want to play, like, you know, a trim kind of effect manually, if I not program the tone, probably I can just do it on the run. The most convenient thing about that kill switch is sometimes when I play a clean guitar tone, like, you know, if I have to play kind of a jazzier sound, so this is like Charles Jackson, you don't get a very warm tone unlike Les Pauls, so it's always on much more to the high end. So when you play, like, so I can just cut the, if I have to cut the tone, but the problem is if I want to switch into play a distorted solo or whatever, I had to put this down. If I have to play a heavy solo, then I had to open this up. So which is, I use it as a shortcut. So when I play, straight away it just switches on this pickup automatically, and I come back to my normal setting again.
So for strings, most of the time I use DAW or Elixir. All my guitars I use either 10 to 46 or 10 to 50 depending on the bridge I have on the guitar. If it's a Floyd Rose floating tremolo, yes, I will have that issue of having very high gauge low, and the reason is it's very difficult for me to balance a Floyd Rose, and I have to keep adjusting the back of it like with strings all the time. But the 7 string, yes, I use the 10's Elixir because it's kind of durable. But other guitars, I always go for 10 to 47 or 10 to 50. For the Fender Strat, because it's a maple neck and jumbo frets, I think I can afford to go for gauge 11s. It was very discomforting at the very first stages when I just want to try it, but now I think I'm good with it. I'm very comfortable. Because one thing is the sustain, one thing is the thicker, fatter low end that you get on your lowest register.
Okay, so that's my world, just years of research and experiments. And I think you guys should try that as well, you know, just never be afraid to experiment, just break the rules, just do what you can just to find your true self. And just like I have been inspired, and I wish to inspire the next generation through this as well. So that's it, that's about my rig rundown, and maybe see you again sometime, maybe in another concept. Probably I'll be having more rig, more experiments, because some of them are in the process already. See you around soon.